Okay, I know some of you have asked about my different build outs, all the different steps involved. So I wanted to go ahead and show you kind of this one, kind of from start to finish. I've still kind of done a few things already, but I can certainly talk through them. So this is that Uzi or Mac 10, as some people wanted to correct me, but commonly called an Uzi, but also technically it is the Mac 10 model, um, gel ball blaster. And I had done some modifications to this one with a different barrel, and I just wasn't happy with it, how it turned out. And I found a really cool, set that you could get for a special airsoft Mac 10. And I thought I'm going to try to adapt that instead. But don't worry, I was able to save the pieces I had printed for my previous build on this and use them on something else that I'll be showing you guys as well. So the nice thing is there's a lot of airsoft stuff out there for similar model stuff, similar model blasters, right? But none of them fit perfectly because they're not the same spec, right? They're just very similar. Um, so you'll see a lot of things where you're like, oh, that was intended to fit something that was slightly narrower, slightly longer, and definitely ran into that with this, but was able to find some solutions to make everything work. So first off, though, what I wanted to do is I felt like the Uzi was slightly underpowered. And when it has this type of gearbox, there's not that many other blasters out there that have this. There's the Scorpion, and that one is the same situation. It's basically it is the identical gearbox. So I wanted to make it a little stronger. And in the past, I'd thought about trying to just take a full gearbox from like an AKM 47 and put it in. But of course, that won't work with this style. And one thing, I don't know why I didn't think about this, but another friend of mine mentioned to me, he's like, well, why don't you just replace the spring and the motor with the AKM one? I'm like, oh, that would be a lot easier. So that's what I did. So I went ahead. And if you do, I mean, I always tell you guys, you're not supposed to open up these gearboxes. They're not really made to be serviced, and they aren't. However, you can open them up. And if you know what you're doing, you'll be just fine. It's just if you open them up and you don't remember where all the gears go or whatever, then you can run into trouble. So we put new motor in here and a new spring. And then of course, now I'll go ahead and use the batteries that I'm have a lot more of, the little two, because the battery that comes with this is that 4-prong plug. All right, so I did that first, and then started looking at these different parts that I had made. So I printed out all these parts, used a really cool new filament from a brand called 3D Fuel that was actually, I didn't even know there were US based companies that make 3D printing filament because I'm pretty new to it, but they make some really high quality filament. And this is actually called PLA Plus. So those of you who are in to 3D printing know what PLA Plus is. PLA Plus prints easy like PLA, but has like that longevity and that strength of like an ABS plastic. So it should last longer. Printed really nice. I'm still getting it dialed in. By no means am I an expert when it comes to getting perfect prints, but very happy with the quality thus far. So this set had a couple different options for front grips, kind of what they called their tactical and their traditional style, right? So I got those printed. And then it had this piece that will go on the front end. However, it wasn't big enough. So I had to go ahead and use a step bit to widen that out so that it would fit on the blaster. And then there were a couple barrel options here, right? So you got two different cool barrel options, and they are both threaded on the inside. However, it's a weird thread. It's like a 18 to 20 millimeter. It's like an 18 millimeter thread. I could not for the life of me find any type of adapter anywhere that I could print that would work with that threading. So instead, I had some other threaded adapters that I had printed previously that I knew would work. So I glued those in there so that this part that's taped off for painting, that's threaded. So we can switch these out, okay? But then I needed to create an adapter for this end too. And again, I had one previously printed. So that's what this piece is. And again, that is just taped for painting, but the inside of that is threaded so that these can just go in there. You can turn them and you can interchange them, right? So the other thing I had to do is I had to kind of widen that out a little bit. I had to narrow this piece down a little bit so that they would close, so that you could get it nice and shut. And now this piece will fit right over that. So it'll fit kind of tightly. I'm not going to go ahead and push it all the way on right now, but that would push back all the way. And then you've got a piece up here that is going to connect the two. All right. And then there was a piece down here that was intended, but again, when you see the sizing, like this would hit. So I don't need that piece there. Anyway, this is definitely on here very snug. I'm not worried about it coming off. However, I may end up cutting this perfect so that just you have the rail that goes from here to here, just for aesthetics purposes. And, so I'll see how that looks after I paint it, and then we'll go ahead and put it up. So anyway, this would go on here, and then you'd be able to have your different choice of barrels. And then of course down here, you'd be able to have your different choice of grips. Okay. And this one, it did actually show it intended it to be like that, to go out that far. And then that's like an intentional little slope there that it was supposed to have. So that's kind of the full build out for the new Uzi or Mack 10. I'm going to paint it. I think I'm going to continue to I'm going to just paint this blue again because I have that blue. And then I'm going to paint all the parts black because the black and blue color combination looks nice. And again, if I ever want to use these grips on other blasters when they're black, it just makes it easier to reuse them. I don't want to be repainting them. All right, so that was pretty long, but that gives you the whole build plan, kind of shows you everything I did. And again, like I said, using a better filament like this from 3D Fuel definitely makes a big difference. So happy with that as well.